In a sterile hospital room, a girl's life hangs by a thread, her sailboat blanket a cruel mockery of dreams adrift. Machines hum a cold lullaby, but her father's desperate whispers falter against the silence of her coma. Then, a barefoot boy, cloaked in mystery, steps from the shadows, claiming he can summon her back with words no doctor dares utter. What secret does he hold? How can a stranger pierce the veil of her sleep? Unravel this miracle where faith defies science. Like, share, and subscribe to Tides of Hope for a story that redefines hope. Let's begin. The hospital room was a sterile shrine to despair, its white walls glowing faintly under the flicker of fluorescent lights. The clock above the door blinked 1:23 a.m., each red digit a silent taunt of time's relentless march. The air hung heavy with the sharp tang of antiseptic, mingling with the plasticky scent of medical equipment. Machines hummed and whirred, their screens casting a cold green glow across the room, where 10-year-old Leela Harper lay motionless. Her small frame was swallowed by a faded blue blanket embroidered with tiny sailboats, a relic from summers spent chasing waves at the shore. Her auburn hair splayed across the pillow, framing a face so pale it seemed to shimmer like moonlight on still water. Tubes snaked from her arms, anchoring her to a life she hadn't touched in 9 days, her chest rising and falling with the mechanical rhythm of a ventilator. Leela, once a whirlwind of giggles and firefly hunts, now lay silent, her spark dimmed by an enigma no doctor could unravel. 9 days ago, she'd been belting out a song from her favorite musical at the kitchen table, her voice bright and fearless. "Daddy, listen, I'm going to be on Broadway someday," she declared, twirling a spoon like a microphone. James Harper, her father, had laughed, ruffling her hair. "You'll outshine 'em all, kid." But mid-verse, her eyes had rolled back, her body crumpling to the floor like a marionette with cut strings. The paramedics had come, their radios crackling, but their urgency couldn't outrun the truth. Leela was gone, locked somewhere deep inside herself. James sat hunched beside her bed, his calloused hands clutching hers, the roughness of his carpenter's fingers a stark contrast to her delicate skin. His flannel shirt was rumpled, stained with coffee from endless vigil nights, and his dark eyes were bloodshot, hollowed by grief and guilt. A master craftsman who could carve oak into heirlooms, James had built bookshelves for Leela's stories, a rocking chair for her dreams, but he couldn't build a bridge to bring her back. "I should have been there," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the beep of the heart monitor. "I was late, Leela, stuck at that damn job site. You were tired that morning, weren't you? I didn't even ask." He squeezed her hand, searching her face for a flicker of response, but her eyes remained closed, her lips still. The doctors called it a neurological collapse, a rare cerebral shutdown with no clear cause or cure. "We're doing everything we can," Dr. Patel had said on day one, her clipboard a shield against James's pleading days. "But you need to prepare for the possibility she won't wake up." James had shaken his head, his voice cracking. "She's a fighter. You don't know her." Dr. Patel's eyes softened. "I hope you're right, Mr. Harper, but hope alone—" She trailed off, leaving the sentence to hang like a guillotine. The hospital room felt smaller each day, its walls closing in as James's world narrowed to the rhythm of Lila's breathing. He traced the sailboats on her blanket, remembering her obsession with the ocean. "You wanted to sail to the stars, didn't you?" he whispered. "Told me you'd find a constellation no one else could see." He smiled faintly, but the memory twisted like a knife. Lila had been his anchor since her mother, Sarah, died in a car accident 3 years ago. Sarah, with her painter's hands and sea-green eyes, had taught Lila to sing, to dream. After her death, James had buried his grief in work, leaving Lila to carry her own. "I let you down, kid," he said, his voice thick. "But I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere." A soft knock broke the silence. Nurse Elena, her scrubs a muted blue, stepped in, her face etched with concern. "Mr. Harper, you haven't eaten in hours," she said gently. "There's a cafeteria downstairs. I can sit with her." James shook his head, his grip on Lila's hand tightening. "I'm fine. She might need me." Elena sighed, setting the styrofoam cup of coffee on the table. "You're no good to her if you collapse. Lila's strong, but so are you. You need to keep your strength." "Strength," James scoffed, his eyes fixed on Lila's face. "What good strength when I can't fix this? I build things, Elena. Tables, chairs, homes. But I can't build her a way back." Elena touched his shoulder, her voice soft. "Sometimes it's not about building. It's about being here. She knows you're here." "Does she?" James asked, his voice raw. "What if she's scared? What if she's alone in there and I'm just sitting here?" Elena hesitated, then said, "I've seen things in this job, Mr. Harper. People come back because someone's waiting. Keep talking to her. Keep loving her. That's what she needs." James nodded, but doubt gnawed at him. He leaned closer to Lila, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "You hear me, kid? I'm waiting. I'll wait forever if I have to." The heart monitor beeped steadily, indifferent. He opened the worn copy of The Secret Garden on his lap, Lila's favorite, its pages dog-eared from countless bedtimes. "Let's read, okay?" he said, his voice trembling. "You always loved Mary finding that key," he began, his words a lifeline cast into the dark. "It was the sweetest, most mysterious-looking place anyone could imagine. Outside, the city slept, its skyline a distant constellation of lights. Inside, time stretched thin, each second a battle between despair and defiance." James's voice faltered, but he kept reading, clinging to the hope that somewhere, deep in the silence, Lila was listening. The sailboats on her blanket seemed to sway, a faint echo of the girl who dreamed of oceans and stars, and James vowed he'd keep her dreaming, no matter how long the night lasted. The hospital's 10th day dawned gray, the sky outside the window a heavy curtain of clouds that mirrored the weight in the room. The sterile hum of machines persisted, their screens flickering with numbers that offered no solace. The girl lay unchanged, her sailboat blanket a fragile tether to a world she hadn't touched. Her father sat vigil, his voice hoarse from reading, his hands raw from clutching hers. But the morning brought a new intrusion, a man who strode into the room like he owned the air itself. Victor Caldwell, a tech billionaire whose empire spanned hospitals and headlines, entered with a polished grin, his charcoal suit tailored to intimidate. His cologne, sharp and expensive, clashed with the room's antiseptic sking. Behind him trailed a lean assistant clutching a tablet and a security guard whose eyes scanned the space like a predator. Caldwell's presence was a jolt, a disruption to the quiet rhythm of despair, and his voice carried the confidence of someone who believed money could bend reality. "Rough morning, isn't it?" Caldwell said, his tone light but calculated, as he stopped by the bed, studying the girl like a puzzle to be solved. "I've had my share, but nothing a good deal can't fix, and I've got a deal for you." Her father looked up, his eyes narrowing, the lines on his face deepening with suspicion. "What kind of deal? My daughter's not a business transaction." Caldwell chuckled, a sound like glass clinking at a gala. "Ugh, come on now. Everything's a transaction, one way or another. I'm offering you the best medicine money can buy. Specialists from Berlin, neural mapping tech I've gotten beta, treatments no one else can touch. All free, of course." He spread his hands palms up, as if presenting a gift. The father's jaw tightened, his voice low and steady. "Why? You don't know us. What's in it for you? Caldwell's smile didn't falter, but his eyes glinted with something sharp. Let's just say I like a challenge. Your girl's story's all over the news. Tragic, heart-wrenching, perfect for a win. I fix her, I prove my tech's the future. Everybody's happy. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. You want her back, don't you? Or are you going to keep playing the stoic hero waiting for a miracle that's not coming? The father stood, his chair scraping against the tile, his hands clenched at his sides. She's not your experiment. You talk like she's a line of code you can rewrite. Code, biology, it's all systems, Caldwell said, waving a hand, his gold watch catching the light. Systems can be optimized. Trust me, I've built empires on that truth. You're out of options, and I'm your lifeline. The father's voice trembled with restrained fury. You think I'm out of options because you've got money? I've got faith in her. That's more than your machines can measure. Caldwell's assistant, a woman with a severe bun, glanced up from her tablet. Mr. Caldwell's offering access to a neural stimulator that's shown a 90% success rate in early trials. It's not available to the public yet. Trials? You mean guinea pigs? My daughter's not your lab rat. Caldwell sighed, theatrical, as if reasoning with a child. Look, I get it, you're emotional, but emotions don't wake people up. Science does. Let me bring in my team and we'll have her singing show tunes again in no time. The father stepped closer, his voice a low growl. She's not a headline for your ego. You don't even see her, do you? She's got a laugh that could light up a storm, a way of tilting her head when she's thinking. You see a problem. I see my whole world. Caldwell's smile tightened, his patience thinning. Fine, play it your way. But when the hospital starts talking about next steps and insurance caps, don't come crying to me. He turned to his assistant. Schedule the team for tomorrow. He'll change his mind. I won't, the father said, his voice iron. Get out. Caldwell paused, then shrugged, adjusting his cufflinks. Your call, but time's not on your side. He strode out, his entourage trailing, leaving a void that felt heavier than before. The father sank back into his chair, his breath ragged, his eyes fixed on his daughter. I'm sorry, kid. I don't trust him, but I don't know what else to do. He smoothed her blanket, tracing a sailboat with his thumb, as if it could carry her back. By noon, Caldwell's team arrived uninvited, wheeling in sleek machines that looked more like sculptures than medical devices. A neurologist with a French accent introduced herself as Dr. Moreau, her voice crisp. We'll start with a non-invasive scan, she said, attaching sensors to the girl's temples. It maps her neural activity in real time. The father watched, arms crossed, his voice tight. And if it doesn't work, what then? Dr. Moreau hesitated, her eyes flickering to the assistant hovering nearby. We adjust. Mr. Caldwell's technology is adaptive. Adaptive, the father repeated, his tone better. You mean you're guessing? Dr. Moreau's lips pressed thin, but she said nothing, focusing on her tablet. The machines whirred, their screens flashing with graphs and pulses, but the girl remained still. Hours passed, the team murmuring in jargon, synaptic thresholds, cortical feedback loops, words that felt like a foreign language. The father stood by the window, staring at the clouds, his heart a knot of dread and defiance. By evening, Dr. Moreau packed up, her face unreadable. We'll analyze the data, she said. We may need to escalate to an implant trial. An implant, the father said, turning sharply. You're not cutting into her. It's minimally invasive, she replied, but her voice lacked conviction. She left, the machines trailing out like a defeated army. The father returned to his daughter's side, his voice soft. They don't get it, do they? You're not a system. You're my sailor, my star chaser. He opened her book, his fingers trembling, and began to read, his words a quiet rebellion against the machine's failure. Just past midnight, a nurse tapped the doorframe, her voice hesitant. There's a boy outside, says he's here for her. No shoes, old jacket. Should I send him away? The father frowned, his heart stuttering with the strange hope. A boy? What he want? Says he can help, the nurse replied, her eyes curious. He's odd. Calm, but odd. The father stood, glancing at his daughter, then at the door. Let him in. I want to hear what he's got to say. The nurse nodded, stepping away, and the father braced himself, unaware that the boy's arrival would shift the tide of their story, carrying a truth no machine could touch. The hospital room felt smaller in the pre-dawn hush, its sterile walls pressing in as the machines continued their relentless hum. The girl lay still beneath her sailboat blanket, her face a fragile mask of moonlight, untouched by the chaos of the previous day. The clock blinked 4:12 a.m., its red glow a silent witness to the father's unyielding vigil. His eyes burned with exhaustion, but he couldn't look away from her, as if his gaze alone could anchor her to the world. The billionaire's machines had left behind only silence, their sleek promise of salvation as empty as the hallway beyond. Now, a new presence entered, a boy, barefoot, his green jacket frayed at the cuffs, his dark eyes holding a quiet certainty that cut through the room's despair like a blade. He stood at the threshold, his shadow long and thin, carrying a weight that belied his slight frame. The nurse hovered behind him, her expression a mix of skepticism and curiosity, but the father waved her away, his voice low. I'll handle this. The boy stepped forward, his bare feet silent on the cold tile, and stopped beside the bed. He studied the girl, his gaze tracing her features as if reading a language only he understood. She's dreaming, he said, his voice soft but clear like a pebble dropped into still water. Not here, but somewhere far. She's waiting for a signal to come back. The father's breath caught, his hands gripping the chair's armrests. A signal? Kid, what are you talking about? She's been gone for days. The doctors say her brain's barely... They don't see what she sees. He interrupted, his tone calm but unyielding. She's not broken. She's lost, like a ship caught in fog. You've got the lighthouse, but you're not using it. The father stood, his voice sharp with frustration. Don't talk in riddles. If you've got something to say, spit it out. Who are you anyway? Why are you here? The boy didn't flinch, his eyes meeting the father's with a steady intensity. Call me Ezra. I'm here because she needs me, and because you need her. Ezra, the father repeated, testing the name, his skepticism warring with a flicker of hope. You're what, 12? You think you know more than the specialists, than all their fancy tech. Ezra's lips curved faintly, not a smile but an acknowledgement. Tech's just noise if it doesn't speak her language. She's listening, but not to machines. She's listening for you, for what you're too scared to let out. The father's face hardened, but his voice wavered. I've been here every night, talking to her, reading to her. What more can I do? Ezra stepped closer, his voice dropping to a near whisper. You've been saying words, but not the ones she needs, the ones you've locked away, the ones that hurt. She feels your fear, your anger. She's waiting for the truth you've been hiding, even from yourself. The father's chest tightened, his hands clenching into fists. Truth. You think I'm hiding something? I give anything to bring her back, anything. Then give her that, Ezra said, his eyes unwavering. Tell her what keeps you awake at night, not the stories from books, but the ones you carry here. He tapped his chest lightly, then turned to the girl, placing a small weathered hand on her forehead. His fingers lingered, as if tracing an invisible thread, and his lips moved in a silent murmur too soft for the father to hear. What are you doing? The father asked, his voice thick with unease, stepping closer. Don't mess with her. I'm not. Ezra said, his hand still resting gently. "I'm reminding her she's not alone, but she needs you to do the rest." He stepped back, gesturing to the chair. "Sit. Talk to her. Not like she's fragile, but like she's still your fighter." The father hesitated, his heart pounding, then sank into the chair, his eyes locked on his daughter's face. The room felt charged, as if the air itself held its breath. "All right," he said, his voice cracking. "If you're so sure, I'll try. But if this is some kind of game—" "No game," Ezra said softly. "Just trust her. She's stronger than you think." The father leaned forward, his hands trembling as he took hers, her skin cool against his calloused palms. He swallowed hard, searching for words he'd buried deep. "Kid, I've been pretending I'm strong for you, but I'm not. I'm terrified. I keep seeing you dancing in the yard, making those daisy crowns you loved. I keep hearing you sing, and it kills me that I didn't listen more. I've been so busy trying to keep us going, I forgot to tell you how much you mean. You're my courage, my light. Without you, I'm just lost." His voice broke, tears spilling onto the blanket, catching the sailboat stitches in their shimmer. "I need you to fight, because I can't do this alone. Come back, please. I'll be better. I'll be here every single day." The heart monitor blipped, a single sharp note that pierced the silence. The nurse, lingering by the door, gasped softly. That's new," she whispered, stepping closer. Ezra nodded, his expression unchanged. "She heard you. She's trying to find the way." The father's breath hitched, his eyes wide with disbelief. "That was her. She's really in there?" "She's always been there," Ezra said steadily. "You just gave her something to hold on to." The father turned to him, his voice urgent. "How do you know this? Why does it feel like you understand her better than I do?" Ezra's gaze softened, a shadow crossing his face. "I've been lost before. I know what it's like to wait for a voice that doesn't come. That's why I'm here, to make sure she hears yours." The father's throat tightened, his anger dissolving into something deeper, something raw. "You're not just some kid, are you?" Ezra didn't answer, his eyes drifting to the girl. "I'll be back tomorrow," he said, turning toward the door. "Keep talking. She's closer than you think." "Wait," the father called, standing. But Ezra was already gone, his barefoot steps leaving no echo in the hallway. The father turned back to his daughter, her fingers twitching faintly, a delicate rebellion against the coma's grip. The machines hummed a new rhythm, not mechanical, but alive. And for the first time in days, the father felt the fog lift, a lighthouse flickering in the distance. The hospital room was a cocoon of quiet tension, its sterile glow softened by the first light of dawn seeping through the blinds. The machines hummed their steady hymn, their screens casting faint shadows across the girl's sailboat blanket, which rose and fell with her mechanical breaths. The clock blinked 6:03 a.m., each tick a heartbeat in the stillness. Her father sat rigid, his eyes locked on her hand, where a faint twitch lingered like a whispered promise. The boy's visit hours ago had left a crack in the despair, a sliver of light that refused to fade. The nurse had checked the logs, her brow furrowed. "No one signed in last night," she said, her voice tinged with unease. "The cameras didn't catch any kid either." The father didn't argue. He'd felt the boy's presence, seen the monitor spike, and that was enough. He leaned closer to his daughter, his voice a soft anchor. "You're fighting, aren't you? I can feel it." The room seemed to listen, its air heavy with something unspoken, something sacred. The morning dragged, each hour a test of endurance. The father's hands shook as he held her book, its pages worn from his relentless reading, but he couldn't bring himself to open it. The boy's words echoed. Truth, not stories, was what she needed. He traced the sailboats on her blanket, their blue threads a map to a memory, her laughter as she'd run through the tide chasing waves, her voice calling, "I'm a pirate queen." He'd laughed then, but now the memory stung, a reminder of moments he'd let slip. "I should have joined you," he murmured, his voice thick. "I should have been your first mate." A soft knock interrupted, and Dr. Patel entered, her white coat crisp, her eyes wary. "The scans are unusual," she said, clutching her tablet. Her RAN activities increased since last night. No explanation. The team's baffled. The father looked up, his voice sharp. "Baffled? You've got 1,000,000 machines and you're telling me you don't know why she's responding?" Dr. Patel hesitated, her fingers tightening on the tablet. "It's not the machines. There's no clinical trigger for this. It's like she's reacting to something else." "Something else," the father said, standing, his voice rising. "You mean like a kid who walked in here and knew exactly what to say? You didn't see him, but I did." Dr. Patel's eyes softened, but her tone was measured. "I'm not dismissing you. I'm saying we can't chart a boy we can't verify. But her vitals, they're stronger. Whatever's happening, it's real." The father sank back, his anger dissolving into help. "Then what do I do? How do I keep her coming back?" "Keep doing what you're doing," Dr. Patel said, her voice gentler. "Talk to her. Be with her. Something's reaching her." She paused, then added, "I've seen cases like this. Rare, but they happen. Sometimes it's not science. Sometimes it's connection." The father nodded, his throat tight, and Dr. Patel left, her footsteps fading. He turned to his daughter, his voice a whisper. "You're hearing me, aren't you? I'm not giving up." He reached for a small wooden carving on the bedside table, a tiny ship he'd whittled for her last birthday, its sails etched with her initials. "You said this was your magic boat," he said, placing it in her palm, curling her fingers around it. "You told me it could sail anywhere, even through dreams. Sail back to me, okay?" The day wore on, the hospital's rhythm a backdrop to his vigil. Nurses came and went, their whispers hushed, their glances heavy with curiosity. One, a young man with a crooked smile, lingered. "Heard you talking about a kid," he said, adjusting the IV. "No one's seen him, but my grandma used to say some people carry light you can't see on cameras." The father looked up, surprised. "You believe me?" The nurse shrugged. "I believe in weird stuff. Worked here long enough to know not everything fits in a chart." He paused, then added, "Keep talking to her. My cousin was in a coma once. Swore he heard his mom praying. Came back because of it." The father nodded, a spark igniting in his chest. He turned back to his daughter, his voice steadier. "You're my pirate queen, remember? You never back down from a storm. I'm here, waiting for you to sail home." He began to hum, a melody from their summer nights, a sea shanty she loved, its rhythm like waves on a shore. "Hoist the sails, the wind's alive," he sang softly, his voice cracking but resolute. "Find the tide, and you'll arrive." The monitor blipped, a subtle shift, and the girl's eyelids fluttered, a delicate tremor like a butterfly's wing. The father froze, his breath hitching. "Did you hear that shanty? You always sang it louder than me." The door creaked, and there was the boy, barefoot, his green jacket dusted with morning dew, as if he'd walked through fields to get here. His eyes held the same calm certainty, a lighthouse in the fog. "You found the right song," he said, his voice a quiet tide. "You're back," the father said, relief flooding him. She moved again. "It's you, isn't it?" "She's the one moving," the boy corrected, stepping to the bed. "You're the one calling, but she needs one more thing." "What?" the father asked, his voice urgent. "I'll do anything." The boy's gaze softened, his fingers brushing the ship in her hand. The promise you made her, before the world got heavy, the one you both believed in. The father's heart stuttered, a memory surfacing. A summer night, her small hand in his, promising to sail together to the edge of the world. "I promised we'd find the horizon," he said, his voice trembling. "I swore we'd chase it, no matter what." "Tell her again. Mean it." The father leaned close, his voice a vow. "We'll sail, you and me, to the horizon, to the stars, wherever you want. I won't let go this time." Tears fell, soaking the blanket, and the monitor's rhythm quickened, a steady pulse of life. The boy nodded, stepping back. "She's almost here. Don't stop now." He turned, his jacket catching the light, and slipped into the hallway, gone as silently as he'd come. The father clutched the wooden ship, his voice rising with the shanty, a beacon cutting through the dark, guiding his daughter home. The hospital room glowed with the soft amber of sunrise, the blinds casting slanted shadows across the sailboat blanket that draped the girl's still form. The machines hummed a steadier rhythm now, their screens flickering with data that hinted at life stirring beneath the surface. The clock blinked 7:14 a.m., its red digits no longer a taunt, but a quiet pulse of possibility. The father sat beside his daughter, the wooden ship carving still clutched in her hand, its tiny sails a symbol of the promise he'd renewed. Her eyelids had fluttered again in the night, a delicate dance of hope, and though she hadn't spoken, the air felt charged, as if the universe itself were leaning in to listen. The boy's words, his call for a promise, had ignited something, and the father clung to it, his voice a constant thread weaving through the silence. He hummed the sea shanty softly, its melody a lifeline, and whispered, "We're sailing soon, kid. Just you wait." Dr. Patel entered, her steps hurried, her tablet glowing with fresh scans. "I don't understand this," she said, her voice a mix of awe and frustration. Her neuroactivity, it's surging. It's like her brain's rewiring itself, but there's no medical precedent. The father looked up, his eyes bright with defiance. "You keep looking for reasons. I'm just glad she's fighting." Dr. Patel adjusted her glasses, her tone cautious. "I'm not denying it's extraordinary, but we need to monitor closely. If she wakes, there could be complications." "Complications," the father said, his voice sharp. "She's coming back, that's what matters. You saw her move, didn't you?" "Yes," Dr. Patel admitted, glancing at the girl. Her hand, her eyes, it's more than we've seen in days. But we don't know what's driving it." "I know," the father said, his voice steady. "It's her, and maybe him." He didn't elaborate, but the memory of the boy's bare footsteps lingered, a quiet force that defied the sterile logic of the room. Dr. Patel frowned, tapping her tablet. "You're talking about that boy again. The staff's checked every record, every camera. There's no trace of him." "Then your cameras are blind," the father said, his gaze returning to his daughter. "He was here, and she's stronger because of it." Dr. Patel hesitated, then nodded. "Whatever's happening, keep doing it," she's responding. She left, her footsteps echoing, leaving the father alone with the hum of hope. He leaned closer, brushing a strand of auburn hair from her face. "You're my captain, you know that, right? Always leading the way." He opened the book again, but instead of reading, he spoke, his voice a soft current. "Remember when we built that sandcastle? You said it was a fortress for mermaids. I laughed, but you were so serious, planning every tower. I want to build another one with you, kid, a whole kingdom." His voice trembled, but he pressed on, the words a bridge to her. At 8:22 a.m., the monitor beeped, a sharp, insistent note. The father froze, his eyes darting to her face, her lips parted, a faint breath escaping, and then a whisper, fragile as sea foam. "Daddy?" His heart stopped, his hands shaking as he cupped her face. "Oh God, you're here, you're really here." Tears spilled, catching the sunlight, and he laughed, a sound raw with relief. "You heard the shanty, didn't you?" Her eyes fluttered open, hazy but alive, like the first stars at dusk. "The mermaids," she murmured, her voice a thread. "They sang with you." The father's breath hitched, his hands trembling. "Mermaids, you saw them?" She nodded weakly, her fingers curling around the wooden ship. "And him, the boy, he showed me the fortress, said you were building it for me." The father's chest tightened, his voice a whisper. "You saw him, the boy with no shoes?" "He smelled like seaweed," she said, her lips curving faintly. "He said you'd never stop singing." Dr. Patel rushed in, alerted by the nurse, her eyes wide. "She's awake?" she asked, checking the monitors. "This is impossible." "Not impossible," the father said, his voice fierce with joy. "It's her. She's my fighter." Dr. Patel's hands shook as she examined the girl. "Her vitals are stabilizing. I need to run tests, but it's a miracle." "Call it what you want," the father said, his eyes locked on his daughter. "I call her, her." The girl's gaze drifted to the window, where the sky was clearing, a soft blue breaking through. "He said the fortress is waiting," she whispered. "We have to finish it." The father nodded, tears streaming. "We will, kid. Every tower, every shell." By noon, the hospital was abuzz, nurses whispering, doctors scribbling notes. The father stepped outside for air, the world vibrant with color, grass greener, sky brighter, as if his daughter's waking had painted it anew. He bought a small sketchbook from the hospital gift shop, its pages blank for the stories they'd write together. As he returned, he found a note taped to the window, written in smudged ink. "The fortress stands. Keep building. -E." No one had seen the boy, no cameras caught him, but the father pressed the note to his heart, its weight a quiet vow. 3 months later, the girl was home, her steps wobbly but her spirit fierce. She drew mermaids on every page of the sketchbook, each one guarding a sandcastle. The hospital called her recovery a medical anomaly. The father called it a gift. He'd sold his old workbench, his savings, to start Community Center, Mermaid's Haven, where kids painted, sang, and rebuilt dreams broken by loss. The girl's first mural adorned its wall, a barefoot boy, seaweed in his hair, holding a glowing shell with the words, "Sing, and the tide turns." One evening, they walked to the beach, her purple sneakers sinking into the sand. She stopped by a tide pool, her voice soft. "What if he's out there, helping another kid build a fortress?" The father smiled, his heart full. "Then I hope they hear his song." She grinned, splashing the water. "We should sing louder so he knows we're okay." And they did, launching a podcast, Tides of Hope, sharing her drawings and their shanty. Messages flooded in, from sick beds, foster homes, lonely nights, each one ending, "I heard your song, and I'm still here." On her recovery's anniversary, she stood at Mermaid's Haven, singing the shanty, her voice clear. In the crowd, the father saw a boy, barefoot, green jacket, a seashell in his hand. Their eyes met, and he was gone, leaving only the echo of a tide turning, a fortress built on love. The story of a girl's awakening in a sterile hospital room teaches us that love and truth are the strongest beacons in our darkest moments. Her father's unwavering devotion, stirred by a mysterious boy's guidance, reveals that hope isn't found in machines or wealth, but in the raw, honest connections we forge. The boy, with his barefoot wisdom, shows that even the smallest voice can shift tides when it speaks from the heart. This tale reminds us to listen deeply, to speak our truths, and to hold fast to those we love no matter the storm. It's a call to rediscover the stories and songs that bind us, proving miracles bloom where faith and love meet. Join us to explore more stories that illuminate the human spirit. Hit like to show your support, share to spread the hope, and subscribe to Tides of Hope for the next journey. Your engagement fuels our mission to share tales of resilience and connection. Don't miss what's coming. Subscribe now and be part of the tide that turns despair into dreams.